Are you tired of your clips looking like this? Bro. What is this? What just happened? What just happened? Do you want your clips to look like this one?
Double kill. 5 kills. You're making progress. 2 kills. Triple kill. 2 minutes left. Quad elimination. Streak of 10. Double elimination. A quick 3.
Well, then stick around, because we're talking about settings. So, what's up, guys? It's Spoon here. I'm finally doing a settings video. I've always gotten a lot of comments about my settings, and I thought I'd go over some of my settings and just kind of recommendations of what I think you should be using as maybe a new player or someone that just doesn't think they're in the comfortable spot with their settings. I'll have chapters at the bottom so you can kind of click through and see which one you're really trying to figure out. First things first, I'm going to go over the controller. So I use a Xbox Elite controller. So it's got paddles on the back. That's just how I prefer to play. This is really just a preference thing. I even got Control Freak on there. So that's really just a preference. You don't really need to have that. It's a lot of the things that we're gonna go over is just how you are comfortable with it. So that's what I like to use, Xbox Elite. So let's just get into it. So if we go to the settings here, we'll just go through each one. General, kind of your basic stuff. You always want ping, squad, that's whatever. Squad privacy, I don't care about that. I think the first thing we look at is the stun VFX. So basically, this is just whenever you get flashbanged. You can have it be a white screen or a black screen. That's whatever you want. Diffuser pickup, I always like to use automatic. Having to press a button to pick it up is kind of annoying. Just run over it. Works the best in my opinion. Throw trajectory, this is kind of a newer feature. Definitely want to have this on. See that line when you're throwing a C4. Drone after prep, this is kind of something people gloss over. Definitely an important one if you want to keep your drones from getting shot right when the prep phase ends. So basically when the timer runs out in the prep phase, you'll just stay in your drone and not get kicked out. Crossplay matchmaking, definitely consoles preferred. I mean, you don't want to queue a PC. I don't even know why you need to ask me that. So if we look at the HUD here, I'm using a custom HUD. There's a lot of HUD options that you can choose from. And again, this is all just your preference, whatever you want. First thing, compass on. You're gonna want the compass on and put that John on simplified because I mean, advanced is just crazy. It's just too big. The main reason I use compass is because I like to have the location of where I'm at on the bottom. I think that helps a lot, especially if you're a newer player. It just tells you the room that you're in, room that you're pinging in. It just helps a lot. I kind of wish you were able to turn this compass off and keep the locations on, but I mean, it's just whatever. Come down here to loadout. You could basically just turn the loadout option on the bottom right off. If you know your buttons, if you know the equipment you have, and you kind of just want to free up some space on your screen, turn that off, you know. I like to keep loadout inputs off, which just gets rid of the buttons next to it, because I don't need to see that. If we look at the health, keep your health on. You can put it on numbers if you don't want the bar, or you can just turn it off, but I mean, I don't know why you would do that. So keep your health on. Stance indicator, just turn it on or off. It's just a little thing at the bottom. Kind of shows if you're proning or crouching. Not really important. I keep it off. We come down to the reminders, action reminders. I have it on default. The action reminder is basically the pop-ups that come up. Like if you're going to reinforce a wall or place a trap, it's kind of all the things that pop up, like hold X to do this, or shows you the actual icon of whatever you're placing. Basically just whatever you want. You can get rid of the text, get rid of the buttons, icons. I keep it on default just because, I don't know, it's not that big of a deal. Something I like to turn off is general reminders. At the bottom, you'll see there's like your ping button and your camera button. That's just like, you don't need any of that. If you know your controller, you know your buttons, you don't need any of that. For your reticle, crosshair on, operator reticle on. So the one thing I hate about this is the operator reticle is just ugly. It's just a big, it's not even a circle, it's a diamond. I don't know what that is. It used to be a circle, it used to be smaller, but you need to have that dot in the middle. It's pretty important. So yep, all this on, keep this all on. Pretty much the rest of it is all on. There's nothing else here. I mean, you can play around with all this. This is all just whatever you want, personal preference. For the audio settings, You come down here to dynamic range. This is something I feel like a lot of people don't look at. I think the default, I don't even know what the default is because I've always just used night mode. Night mode, pretty much what that does is it takes all the loud sounds like explosions and gunshots and kind of quiets them down a little bit more. And then all the quieter sounds like footsteps and people turning, moving their body, those are louder. So you'll hear footsteps a lot better. Definitely, I think, is the best setting. But you can also try hi-fi. Hi-fi just makes all the sounds that are immediately kind of next to you louder. Like your gun will be louder. The footsteps that are right next to you will be louder. So you can kind of tweak with this, play around with it. Display options, since I am on the newest Xbox, I like to use performance mode. I would do, if you have the option to do performance mode, I would definitely use that. Field of view, this is kind of an important one. If you're a newer player and you're not using at least 80, you're not gonna do good. 60 field of view is just insane. It's way too zoomed in. You're not gonna be able to see anything around you. If you can't do 90, I would try to just get used to 80, but 90 definitely is just the best, I think, because you just get to see more of your screen. HUD display, pretty much this is like the operators at the top or your stuff on the bottom, everything in your HUD, everything like your gun loadout, everything at the bottom, your health. If you see like the bars on the side here, it tells you how zoomed in or how close to the middle of the screen they'll be. Some people like to put it all the way close so you can see everything. I would just do 90, I think that's the default, I don't know. Controls, so here we go. My biggest advice with settings is don't just copy mine and think that they're good. Don't go to like another person's video, copy theirs. This is however you're comfortable with. This is something that you need to tweak with. There are some tips that I would give in regards to all this. I'll start up here. Vibration. Again, like this is just whatever you want. I like vibration on. Gadget deployment, I like to use standard just because you just hold the stuff down. You just hold your button down and that's how you place things down. Advanced pretty much is like you press the button and then you take out your, like, say your bandit trap and then you press the button again. That's whatever you want. I like standard. Drone deployment, this one's one of those mandatory things. You gotta play on advanced. What this means is that when you throw your drone, you won't immediately just get into it. You'll throw your drone and then you gotta press the drone button again to get into it. This will help you a lot. Like because if you're sat next to a window about to drone it and you throw it, and you just instantly put in your drone, some kid jumps out and dicks you down, like, that's on you, dog. With leaning behavior, I like to play on alternate. This is kind of like that PC setting where you get to lean from your hip rather than always having to aim to lean. This is one of those personal preference ones. Just mess around with it, see what you're comfortable with. I don't change anything, the controller layout, since I have paddles, but I did have a buddy who liked to play leaning with his bumpers. I don't know about that, but if that's what I wouldn't recommend that. But hey, maybe that's what you're comfortable with. That's up to you. Here we go, the big stuff, I guess. So my vertical sense is 43 and my horizontal is 78. So this is a 35 cents difference. A lot of people, especially if you're new, even if you're not, like a lot of people just play like, let's say 45, 50. This is not good. Maybe even like 47. Like this is not. You want your horizontal sensitivity to be a lot faster. What did I have it on? You want your horizontal sensitivity to be at least like 30 more than your vertical. Because if I were to compare to another game, like Call of Duty, you kind of have like 1 point something something sense. And that's kind of what this is. It's kind of just more general. I would just keep your horizontal sensitivity a lot faster than your vertical so that you can kind of keep your camera in the middle and you can kind of aim for the head a lot better. If your vertical sense is too fast and you're like flicking up too much, like that's just going to get you killed. So you definitely want to keep that horizontal a lot faster than the vertical. But again, just play around with this. Go into the firing range, play arcade free-for-all. Play around with this and see what's comfortable for you. My dead zone, I like to keep my left stick dead zone kind of on the higher side. If you don't know what dead zone is, basically it's like how sensitive your stick is. So if I were to just gently move this with a low dead zone, it would turn my camera immediately. But the higher your dead zone, it would take more force to turn your camera. The left stick's kind of weird, so I just keep it on 9. I think that's the default. And then my right stick, I turn it down a little bit, go to 7. Kind of responds a little bit quicker to my stick. That's pretty much all up to you. When it comes to trigger dead zone, I would always just put this on 0. This means there's not going to be any delay when you shoot with your triggers, and like that's the last thing you want. You just want to be instant with that stuff. Controller ADS, personally, I think with the one times, you want to keep that kind of in the 20s area, like 20, 25 area. 2.5, 3.5, keep that in the 30s area. Keep that a little bit higher because you want those higher zooms to be faster because you'll be closer up to the person. Whereas the one times where you're more zoomed out, you're kind of keeping it a little bit slower, so it's easier to control. 12 times out of 42, same rules apply. Keep that faster because it's a higher zoom. 5.0, I just have it on. I don't know what's going on here. I don't even think I ever use a 5.0 scope, so I kind of just ignore this one. Play around with it, see what's for you. This one's a little weird. Advanced controller options, I would just keep them disabled. I don't know why. I did this a long time ago. I put it on enabled and I put everything to 0, which pretty much is the same thing. So I don't know what the point of it is. You don't want any of this. Look acceleration, vertical, like basically this just, when you're turning your camera, it kind of gives you a boost and makes it go faster. That's just going to mess you up. Put this on 0 or just disable it. There's no need for any of this. Accessibility. So when it comes to your optical color, I mean, if you look at my previous videos, I always rock white. Kind of in my blue suit era right now. The best ones to use are probably the darker colors like blue or red or purple or black, because they're just the easiest. They won't blend in as much with the backgrounds. Optic opacity, I always just rock 100, but you'll see people rock like 70 or maybe even like 40 or something like that. The reason people do this is that it lets them see through that reticle and be on top of people's heads a lot easier. This doesn't really matter to me. I keep it on 100. Screen shake intensity, always keep this on off. You don't want your screen shaking. This is going to mess up your recoil, going to throw you off. Motion blur, I've had this on for the longest time. Don't do that. You want off. If you haven't had it on off already, you'll definitely notice it when you get shot. You kind of just have like a regular blood. You don't have kind of this like jitter when you get shot. Definitely keep that on off. Yeah, that's pretty much it for accessibility. Next, I want to go to the Xbox settings here. So, I mean, I don't know how it is on PlayStation, but this is kind of just if you want. This is something I personally like to do. Kind of makes your game pop a little bit more vibrancy. If you go down to the accessibility options and go to color filters and change the colorblind mode to red, green, not even going to say that, and then put this intensity all to the max, it'll kind of make those like brighter colors pop a little more and it'll make the game look a little nicer. Pretty much all this stuff is up to you. I mean, people are always looking for the best settings, but you really just got to take the time. Just play around with it and see what is the best for you. It takes like 10 minutes to just go into the firing range and play around with the settings. Yeah, that's all my settings. This is kind of the best things that I think you as a player should be using, if you're a new player especially. But thanks for watching. Like or something. Subscribe maybe. Up to you. I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the video. Maybe have something play. I don't know. Stick around. Maybe it'll just end.